Growing up in Saskatchewan, Helen Vangool says she never had a teacher that wasn't white. Vangool is now a teacher herself and is using social media to share her story. She's hoping to see more people who are Black, Indigenous, or visible minorities be attracted to the teaching profession. Helen joins me now. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So what influenced you to become a teacher?
Well, that's a tough question, but I would say I never really thought about being a teacher growing up. It wasn't until I was in university and I took a Native Studies course actually that was taught from an Indigenous male. And he started talking about things from his perspective and his lens. And when he did so, I really changed my perspective on things and really opened my eyes to the way that others can experience and view the world, and it really inspired me to join education and do what he does.
Why do you think it's important to have more people of color teaching now?
I think it's so important because the diversity in classrooms is becoming so large. It's really important that we have more teachers of color there. A lot of teachers, seeing someone who looks like you in a teaching profession, I think for me, it would have made all the difference. Things like viewing things from a different lens. I find working on decolonizing my own mind. I still see a lot of things I feel like from a white lens because of the education that I've experienced in my life. And so I think if you are getting information from someone from a different perspective who's lived a different experience, you'll start seeing things in a different way, and perhaps it'll open your mind to new things.
What do you think needs to be done to attract more people of color to teaching positions?
I think what needs to be done is they need to, first of all, get more research and put the funds, the province needs to put the funds into it to see just what those stats are. How big is that diversity gap between teachers and students in Saskatchewan? The more that we know about it, the more we know the stats, then we know where to start. I also think they need to create programs that recruit people of color to join the teaching profession and want to go into the College of Education. I think the more programs we have that really are trying to draw in people of color, perhaps they're more likely to see themselves as teachers and want to join the university and go that route.
You gain quite the following on social media. You've been sharing a lot of resources. What role do you think social media plays in the bigger conversation?
I think it plays a huge role. Almost everyone is on social media, and sadly, unfortunately, a lot of people use social media as their only means of information. And I think it's really important that you draw attention to what's going on in the world and how people are feeling. And when I started sharing those experiences, it's starting to open up a lot of people's minds, and you're able to reach way more people than just having conversations with your friends. So I think that's the big goal here with using Instagram or other forms of social media to reach people.
And since you've started using those means of social media, what kind of feedback have you gotten from people?
I've gotten actually a lot of positive feedback. It threw me I was really surprised. I've had other educators reach out to me, like other educators of color, telling me their experiences, telling me how they feel and how they're dealing with everything that's going on in the world right now. And that's been very helpful to me, very therapeutic for me during this time. I've also had a lot of white educators reach out to me and ask me, how can I teach about racism in the classroom? I never thought of things your way. I'm really glad. I've really opened their eyes to a lot of the things that are going on, especially like what it's like to be a person of color living in Saskatchewan, which has been great. But the biggest thing has been the students that have reached out to me. I've had students of color reach out to me and tell me how meaningful it is that I'm talking about these things, and how even some have talked about wanting to join our profession, which is amazing. It's really touched my heart to think that perhaps I'm reaching people the way that I would have wanted to be reached when I was a kid.
Helen, thanks so much for your time and perspective today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Helen Vangool is an elementary school teacher in Saskatoon. You can find the resources that she's been sharing on Instagram @SaskTeaches.